Namaste. Welcome to the Hindu Parenting Podcast. In our culture, we accord great respect to the teacher, next only to the parents. And for good reason. In our parenting journey, there's a lot we can learn from the gurus and acharyas, the great teachers around us. Today, we will be talking to one such great teacher, chess coach Shri RB Ramesh, who has earned a stellar reputation in the global chess community. He has trained many promising youngsters, among them the young Praggnanandhaa, who is currently making the country proud. Let's listen to Ramesh ji and get some insights on handling children and training them to aim for excellence. Namaste, Ramesh ji. We are so honored to have you as part of our podcast today.
Namaste. It is my honor to be here as well.
Thank you. We'd like to start by congratulating you on the fabulous performance of your student Praggnanandhaa at the recent Chess World Cup. It has fired the imagination of many children in India. So we seem to be looking at a bright future for Indian chess.
Yes, that's absolutely true. There is some kind of mini revolution happening in the chess field, and the lead is largely being taken by the youngsters from our Bharat. And really happy to be part of able to contribute in this process. If we take the junior players, top junior players in the world, juniors by which I mean children below 20 years of age, we have among the top 7, 4 of them are from India. So it's more than 50% of the top juniors are from our country. So it's extremely proud moment for us. And I see that things are only beginning to get better. I don't think we have reached the of our achievement.
This is phenomenal. Out of 7, 4 is like just too good, you know.
Yeah, and I don't think we have reached the top yet. We still have a lot of potential young children coming up, and our children are extremely hardworking, and they have very good work ethics. And I believe this is probably the main reason why we are able to dominate in the chess field.
So some of our listeners have sent in questions for you, Rameshji. And I think the one most common question deals with what it takes to be a success. 3 factors, particularly talent, interest, and effort, are considered as a requirement in general, perhaps along with a bit of luck also. We say that we always need that last bit of luck to shine. So how do you see it in chess?
Yeah, it is more or less similar. Like there are many qualities that is required from the individual concerned to be successful in any activity. So in my view, like the first most important thing I consider is the passion or love for that activity. If someone wants to be a singer or a musician or dancer or an actor, whatever it takes, it is very important that we are very extremely passionate about it. If we are putting a half-hearted effort, usually we will not be able to reach our full potential. Now, first thing I would like to clarify is the definition of success. So this itself could be varying from person to person, individual to individual, and even across cultures it can be considered differently. For example, when I was a child, I remember some of the top sportsmen of those days era, like Martina Navratilova. She mentioned that winning is everything, and people who say winning is not everything have probably not won enough. So when I read this, it was kind of a cultural shock to me, because I was always brought up with the notion that success is not only measured in terms of results, the outcome. It is also like there are many other important factors involved. For example, like our application. When we try to learn an activity to get better at it, we put a lot of effort. And when we put a sincere, honest effort at learning something, in my view, like that itself is a reward, because we have learned how to be honest and sincere while doing something. So for me, it's already a big gain, irrespective of the outcome of that activity. So so for me, like success is like when you are completely involved in an activity, you put your best effort, you have a great time doing what you are doing, and you get better in that process. I feel that is the natural outcome. If we do the right things, the right thing will be the outcome. So the outcome should just be a reward for our effort, not the goal. That's how I look at it. So from this perspective, like passion, doing something passionately with whole heart is very important in my view. That's be the first requirement to be successful. And the second is some amount of talent, but this is something beyond an individual's control. It is, we are what we are, so we have to accept it. And but I don't think success is going to determine whether an individual will be successful or not. It is just an igniting factor. It contributes at certain stages of our growth. The more talented find the going easier in certain zones, certain areas. But beyond that, I don't think talent plays a huge role at the level where everyone is trying to get better. And the third factor I would say is the ability to work hard, the effort aspect. So we have to put a lot of effort into learning that activity, into mastering the skills, and not just acquiring knowledge. So most individuals, when they're trying to excel, they focus on acquiring knowledge, that is gathering information about how to get better, rather than actually doing the activity and then learning from the mistakes and getting better. So this is also, in my view, is very important. And finally, I would say the learning ability of the individual concerned, because not everyone learns at the same level. Everyone has our own way of learning, our own limitations to learning, how effectively we learn things. So this is also an important factor. And on the question of luck, I would not want to call it as luck. So it is like in our philosophy, we also believe like in the Daivam concept, like there are some things which are beyond our control. So
Right.
people who believe in God, they can say God also has a role to play in the outcome. But if someone doesn't believe in God, we can say it's luck or some external unknown factor, whatever it is, up to everyone. But there is an unknown fact element involved, which is beyond human control. So we can call it luck if we want. Yeah, that also plays a role. But if we have done our part, usually that unknown factor will also side with us. That's what I believe.
You just mentioned about the need to focus on the process rather than always focus on the outcome. This is like being a karma yogi, right? And doing your job to the best of your ability rather than just focus on the fruits. But for children, this must be a hard thing to convey to children. For kids who ultimately shine in their careers, how much of this comes naturally? And how much of it needs to be constantly reinforced? This, incidentally, is another listener question.
Yeah, so I think like it is very difficult for adults to learn difficult things than for children. From my experience working with a lot of young children, I have seen that for children, learning difficult things comes naturally. That is the age to learn things, acquire knowledge and developing skills. So in my view, like it is extremely important the young children are taught, convinced like what are the most important things, and without looking at them as too young, with this child is too young to know about these things. What usually happens is like I find extremely hard or close to impossible to convince adults once they have formed an opinion on an issue. They can at best listen to a different view of opinion, but rarely they change their mind. So unless we change our opinions, we cannot learn anything. So if I believe there are 7 planets and the scientists say no, there are 8 planets, and I still say like no, I know it's only 7 planets, then I'm not actually learning. So if I have to learn, oh, I thought it was 7, but now you say it's 8, so I change my opinion. Now I agree there are 8 planets. So the learning happens when we have the ability to change how we look at things, how we perceive things. and this is extremely hard for adults because we form very firm opinions, and then with that only we take decisions and carry on with our life. But for children, everything is new. So every opinion, every experience is very new to them, so they can easily absorb them. So it's very easy to teach children the value of values, like the necessity to doing the hard work, the need for not focusing too much on results. It's very easy to convince children. Now, if we see children playing, let's say, running and catching or hide and seek, on, let's say, if 10 children are playing together and they're running and catching, like most of the children are losing all the time, right? Only one or two are winning and the rest are losing, but they have so much fun. The winners and the losers, they have so much fun, and then once they finish a game, they want to play once more and again once more. So there is very less question of winning and losing in their mind. Yeah, so for young children, they don't play a sport just to win, but the process of playing that sport makes them happy. All that excitement, doing an activity with the other children, trying to give their best, they actually have fun in this process rather than the
Yeah.
outcome. But it is the
Correct.
adults, when we start judging them, like you are playing well, you are not playing well, you are good at this, you are bad at this. When we give this kind of feedback, that is when the children learn from the adults that winning is good, losing is bad, and then they start kind of developing an aversion, and over a period of time, even a fear losing.
Yeah, very well said. The process and the way they have fun, they learn through that, and we kill that by putting so many conditions and roadblocks in their progress, actually. Yeah, you're very
Yeah,
right.
we also
Yeah.
judge them on
Yeah.
very minor things rather than giving them the space to be themselves, experiment by trying new things. Because only by making mistakes, trying new things, um, trying to find an answer for their curious questions, they learn in the process. So when we bring down everything to being successful every time, then we kind of kill their ability to experiment and try new things and being themselves.
When okay, this is right and correct, but when is the point when you feel that uh, a certain child has a spark which is more than the others who are around him, and therefore needs to be nurtured differently to so that he or she can realize their full potential? Then what do you do? How do you go about pushing that child a little harder? Because left to themselves, they may not push. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm being judgmental again, but I just feel that if they don't realize that they are a cut above the rest, and they are not pushed, then will they actually work to their potential if not given some push?
Okay, so how I see is like in every child, every individual, there are so many good qualities already present in them, and there are also some unwanted qualities present in them. So it's the case with every individual. In some cases, like if someone wants to be a good chess player, they may require some qualities, and it is more prominent in certain children, and the unwanted qualities are more prominent in other children. So this is possible. But how I see is like imagine a light, glowing light bulb, and if we cover the bulb with dark blanket and we just wrap it around the light, then the blanket will cover the light. So
Mhm.
people can easily say there is no light, but the light is still there, the good quality, but it is the blanket which is not letting the light shine. So
Mhm.
the teacher's role, I believe, is to help the child uncovering this blanket, removing this blanket layer by layer, and bring the light out to its full glory. Now, the talented ones, I see is like some of the blanket is already removed. That's how I see. For the others, it is not. So I don't teach differently for so-called talented or not talented children. So I generally believe in teaching in groups. Many parents, especially those who can afford They want individual training for their children. So they believe like, okay, if all the coaches' attention is focused on my child, then my child will learn faster, more efficiently. So they don't, when they think like, if you put them in a group learning environment, then the teacher's attention is divided among the students, and the learning also is somehow kind of divided. So all the learning doesn't happen in one child. The same learning is like divided among the children. This, they learn less. So this is how some parents think, and I don't believe in this at all. So in an individual environment, yes, the children, the individual child can get more attention from the teacher, but the learning is not happening based on how much attention the teacher gives to the student, but rather how much a child pays attention in the class, how much information is absorbed by the child, and how well it is absorbed and processed. So this is where actually the learning happens. So a child can focus very well in an individual session or in a group session. There is no constraint to this. And more importantly, in a group environment, the child is not only learning from the teacher, but also from the fellow children, other students. Because some children, when they concentrate well, when they explain things well, when they learn things better, this can be an inspiration for the children who are not doing it as well. So you say, okay, when he is able to learn, I can also learn. So it can actually be a motivating factor, and we can learn from the fellow students as well. Yeah. So this is what my opinion is on this subject.
So you're essentially saying that if a child is talented, the child already knows and is doesn't need any extra motivation to pull things off.
I think every child needs to be taught all the important things. So we don't have to teach some special secrets to the most talented ones, or giving that extra push. So the extra push is basically like motivation. So we inspire them, we motivate them, and this is very important for all the children, even who are not doing well currently. So because I have seen in my experience, like if there are 15 children attending the session, I will consider 2 or 3 who are doing very well, and maybe like 7 or 8 average, and maybe like 3 or 4 doing not so well. Now, so a teacher should not can identify children who are doing well, average, and not so well, but our teaching should cover all the 3 groups. It should not just be restricted. We should not focus only on the children who are doing well, because that will be very demotivating for the average and the children who are not doing well as of now. So if some child is not doing well as of now, it means they have not learned how to learn. It does not mean they are less talented. So they have not learned how to learn effectively. So it is very important we put extra effort to teach the average and the not so well doing children that how they can get better. So one thing is like, simply by putting a better effort through good concentration, better concentration in the class, they can actually learn effectively. So most of the time, like the children who are not learning well, it is simply because their mind is not in that activity. Their mind is elsewhere. So they are distracted. So if we teach them to overcome that distraction and learn to focus what is being taught on that activity, they will immediately, like in a very short span of time, they can start improving much faster than they were doing earlier. So one is there is a need to teach them to focus better. Now, from this sense, it's very important for a teacher to know what can disturb our concentration. One, thoughts and emotions. So when the children are thinking about something else, then their mind is distracted. And when the thinking is on a very strong topic, then they will get related emotions as well. And then it will be very difficult for them to focus on what is being taught. So we have to talk to young children about this, that you have to keep your thoughts and emotions under control, reasonable control, and whatever activity you do. So they should not be taught to focus only during the class. In every activity they do, if they are eating, sleeping, or playing sport, their whole heart and mind should be in that activity. So they should be very much involved in whatever they do. If they are walking in a street, they should be fully involved in that walking activity. So if we teach them like this, when they come to chess or whatever activity, they will simply know that I have to focus here. So teaching them how to concentrate is very important in my view. And what helps facilitates this good concentration is the passion for that activity. If they like something, they will want to do it. If they don't like something, they will not want to do it. So their heart should be in it. It makes it easier for the mind to be involved as well. And yeah, so it is very important their heart and mind are together in that activity. And sometimes what happens, their own fears, insecurities, dislikes, they have very big impact on the efficiency of learning. So for example, if I don't like some activity, if someone wants to teach me that activity, I don't want to learn it. So because my heart is not in it. So
Yeah.
my likes and dislikes plays a big role, whether I will learn it well or not. And my fears. So if I have done some activity and I did not do well and I was judged harshly, then that fear of failure will be there and that bad experience. So I am afraid that if I do it second time, I will still fail. So if they feel like my past failure and they start judging themselves poorly as a result, then that can also hamper the effort they put into learning. And the next thing is the dislikes. Suppose the children, if we see, like they will like to eat food items which they like, and they'll say no to the food items which they don't like, not because it is good for health or bad for health. It's simply their likes and dislikes decide which food they want to eat and which food they don't want to eat. So we have to teach them, like they should not say like, okay, this subject is boring, this subject is more interesting. Okay, I like physics, I don't like chemistry. Children start developing these preferences at a young age, and it is very important, like to tell them it is extremely important. If you are a student, you should like everything about learning, all the subjects. And some subjects which you think you don't like today is simply because it's not because you don't like it, it is simply because you have not learnt it well. If you put a good effort and learn it well, you will start liking that as well. If suppose a child says, I don't like physics, it simply means they have not put a good effort at learning physics. So if they put a good effort at learning physics, they will learn physics, and when they learn physics, they will start liking it. So this is my approach. So they have to like the process of learning things, and they can learn anything they set their mind to learn by putting a good effort.
So it seems like a large part of your job is not just to teach the technique of playing chess, but what we today term as soft skills, right? How to learn, how to motivate yourself. And a lot of it must be talking to the child, right? Talking to each individual child and helping them work through anything that may be holding them back, isn't it?
Yes. So I believe teaching is like one of the most important things is like we are actually uh, teaching them how to learn. That's how I see. I don't see myself as teaching them chess. Um, that is also a part of it, but probably only half the job. So it is more important for a teacher to convince the child, one, what they are trying to learn is learnable. They should have that confidence that I can learn this. Because if a children thinks this is too difficult for me, then their heart will not be in that activity. So we have to convince the children that what they want to learn can be learned. But for that, they have to put a good effort at learning. They should actually enjoy that process of learning. But it doesn't have to be pleasant always. So there'll be unpleasant moments, difficult things they have to do, and they should have the determination, that self-confidence to put that effort. So that intensity of the effort is required. We have to convince the children when they want to learn something, they have to be fully involved, put a good effort, and that the intensity in the effort is very important. Their heart should be in it. So most of the times the children, they are learning only using their head. They are not using their heart while in the learning process, and this is what makes it more difficult. So we have to teach the children to put their heart and head together when learning. And then when we teach the subject, it will be easier for them to assimilate knowledge and skills.
You often speak of training with intensity as opposed to training long hours and saying, that I worked so many hours at doing this. So how do you put it across to children so that they understand the difference between the two, the intensity versus long hours?
Yeah. So, for example, let's say if I want to become strong physically, I want to put some muscles in my body, then I can, let's say, normally in a class, I'll just, let's say I have a remote uh, for the monitor and a mouse. So I will have the remote in one hand and a mouse in the other hand, and I will do like I'm lifting the weights. And then I will say, if I do this for the next 10 hours, will my muscles grow stronger because I'm putting 10 hours of effort into this activity. So I'm putting a lot of effort. So is this hard work? The children will say no, because they see like, okay, I'm lifting a very lightweight. Even a child can do this. Now, as an adult, if I'm lifting these two light weights for 10 hours, so they realize like long hours you put an effort doesn't produce the positive outcome. It's not a natural outcome because we just put in the long hours. And then I say, okay, this table, it's too hard for me to lift. Or let's say this wall, this building, it's very difficult for me to, impossible for me to move this building. But if I try to push the building with all my strength, the building is not going to move anywhere, but it's going to stay at the same place, but it'll actually make my muscles stronger because that all my muscles are being strained in that activity. So that intensity, the muscles are being used intensely. So that makes the muscles stronger. It's not whether the building moved or not that decides the outcome. So when you put a wholehearted effort into learning something, you automatically become stronger. Whether you win in a game immediately after that activity or not, it doesn't really matter. So for example, like if we study chess before a tournament game, usually most chess players do this before they play in a competition game. They practice like 3-4 hours, and if they put a very good effort in that 3-4 hours before the game at learning something, that does not guarantee that in the match they play immediately after they are going to win, because the opponent could be doing the same as well, or he played better than us. There are many other factors that can decide the outcome, but the effort I put in learning before that competition for the 3-4 hours, I have learned something, and that would make me stronger. So there is already a gain reward available, even though I lost the game which I played after. So these things, it's very easy to talk to the children and convince them. Mostly because no one else is doing this. Not at school, not at home. No one is teaching them these things. So when they listen to these things from us, they get very inspired and motivated. Usually, like when the children go home from the class, they should not think, oh, I've attended the class, chess class, so I want some rest. No, their heart should go to chess even when they go home. Like for example, like Prag, when he comes to the class, finishes the class, and when he's going by bus to his home, he will be seeing chess along the way because he is so inspired and motivated. And that is very important role of a teacher. Like we inspire them to put continuous effort even after the class is over. They should not learn only from the teacher, they should learn by themselves as well. That's very important.
So, however much you prepare them in many, many different ways, there comes that time when a child plays his first or her first professional match. And then the prospect of a loss or a failure looms ahead. So, how do you keep your students motivated when they reach that stage? And also, how do you prepare them to face a situation where they may have to face, say, a senior grandmaster, with a big reputation? So, how do you prepare them from, getting too intimidated before, during, or after the game if they've lost?
Yeah, I think this is extremely important for every sportsman to learn how to handle this, because when we are playing in competitions, we are competing with others, and some of them will be stronger than us with big reputations, and sometimes they are in great form. Like in the last few matches, they have won everything, and maybe we have lost a few along the way, and now we are meeting a player who is in good form, who is stronger, maybe more experienced, whatever, the great reputation and so on. So usually children who are not taught how to handle these things, they don't handle this well. They instinctively react. So it is very important to teach the children to not to react to things happening to them rather than respond. So the difference is, like if someone, let's say we have to be vaccinated, and they are going to put a needle in my hand, and it's going to be painful. So some children, just hearing this, okay, let's go to the clinic, some children will start crying. No, no, I don't want to do this, it's too painful, and they'll start crying even before going to the clinic. But we can, some children, they will realize, okay, this is something I don't have choice, I have to go through this experience, and let me be as moderate as possible in my reaction. So they'll just say, and then they will deal with it. So we have to teach the children, like, you don't have to react too much to these things. And so first thing is, like, we have to teach the children what is success, what is failure. This is very important. What is win, what is a loss, all these things, because the children don't differentiate these things very much. So as I said, like when they play hide and seek, they are not thinking about did I win or did I lose. That is only maybe 5 or 10% why they play the sport. 90% is for the fun. It just makes them happy to play with the other children. So if they throw stone in a lake, that will make them happy. There is no winning or losing here. Just doing an activity which gives them fun with the other children makes them happy. And that is how sport should be when they are very young. So they should not be playing a sport to just win and avoid losing. So it is very important to teach them what is success and failure, winning and losing. So regarding success, I tell them, if you put a good effort at something, you are successful. If you put a half-hearted effort at something, even if the outcome is a win, I would not consider you are successful. So this I make it very clear to the students. So I tell them it is the most important thing for them is to put a very good effort wholeheartedly. So if they do that, they are successful. So this is how I define success. If you do an activity with full involvement, full passion, you're already successful, irrespective of the outcome. Now, regarding win and loss, because the tournament organizers, they are not going to give grade us success in this way. Did you play with a good effort, so you win, you get 1 point? No, they will judge us based on the outcome. So if they lose a match, we'll be given a 0 point. If we win, we'll be given 1 point, something like this. So how do children deal with this? Because they are being judged externally based on the outcome. How do we deal with this? So I tell them, like, winning, losing, and drawing. In chess, it's also possible to draw a game. They are just 3 different experiences. It is not like winning is better and losing is lower, but they are just 3 different experiences. So I normally tell them it's like vanilla, chocolate, strawberry, something like this. Immediately they can relate. Oh, they are just 3 different flavors, right? And I can enjoy vanilla, I can enjoy strawberry, I can enjoy any flavor I want. So I tell them winning, losing, and drawing are just 3 experiences you go through. And if you want to be a great chess player in the long run, then you can learn from a game you lost, or from a game you drew, or from a game you won. You can learn something useful and productive and grow stronger in the process. So this is what I try to emphasize. So you just learn to see them as different experiences, and from each of these experiences you can learn something about yourself and grow better in the process.
Yeah, so you're talking about self-improvement, self-learning, along with some guidance as a mainstay for progressing of any individual, right? But today we are bombarded with so many external influences. Especially for children, there is just a profusion of distractions, be it gadgets, be it OTT, be it social media. There's just so much out there that can be distracting for a child. So what has been your experience as the children get more involved in the game of chess in your instance, and does the pull of these external attractions decrease? And surely there are lots of children who can't also deal with it too well. So how do you help the children deal with these external influences, and help them overcome the temptation to indulge in those rather than work on their game?
Yeah, this is again a very, very important factor. Yeah, it's extremely important. Like we teach the children how to use the gadgets and OTT platforms, internet, social media in moderation. This is, in my view, crucial because I believe it's not only the children but also adults who are negatively influenced. We are all kind of addicted to all these modern facilities we are having access to. So I have seen many children, they are addicted to watching serials in OTT platforms like Netflix, Amazon Prime, whatever. And they're also addicted to Instagram, Netflix, Snapchat, and so on. So social media apps. So what is happening is like the parents feel I did not have access to all these facilities when I was young, and to be a good parent, I have to provide access to all this to my children without denying them these things. And when we don't teach them how to use it moderately, the addictive value nature of these things, they easily get addicted, and it affects their personality, the learning skills, and so on. And I have seen over decades, like the attention span of the children, their ability to concentrate, especially when they are taught things which they don't like, it's going down drastically. And most of the children of this generation, when they are taught things, some difficult things, they don't take it as a challenge. Okay, this is difficult, so I have to put a very good effort to learn this. Instead, they say, oh, it's too difficult, it's not for me. Because what I believe is happening is all these, let's say, the OTT platforms, internet, they play with the senses. They keep stimulating the senses, our senses. So like, they are showing some things, visual media. They're showing something. We are hearing something, and our emotions are triggered in a big way, in a continuous way. So if you take a movie like the hero's sister will be killed, and then we will all cry, and then a comedian will come, make joke, we will start laughing, and the hero is hit, we get angry, and finally the hero wins, we feel victorious, and so on. So they stimulate all our emotions and senses continuously, and we want different kinds of stimulation. So we are kind of addicted to this, like sugar addiction, like smoking. This we constantly need some stimulation to our senses. So as a result, what happens, like if we deny access to a child from all these gadgets, internet, everything, and then we ask them to sit in a chair for 5 minutes, they will be fidgeting. They'll like simply not know what should I do this, what without accessing a gadget, what can I do in my life. They simply don't know, like that they can be without a gadget. They are simply don't
True.
know this. This
Yeah.
affects their learning as well. So in chess,
Right.
they need to concentrate quietly. There is no stimulation. No one is talking to them. They are not hearing anything. They are not seeing anything other than a chessboard in front of them where nothing is moving. So when there is no stimulation to their senses, their mind, instead of becoming calm, it becomes very agitated. They say like, why everything is quiet? Why there is no action? So then they feel bored, like, okay, this is not for me. So this is something that is happening a lot nowadays. So as teachers, we have to talk to them like, you can be quiet, calm, and that is actually a pleasant experience. And when you concentrate well, and then you struggle with a problem, and then you try different solutions, and suddenly something works in your favor, and you realize, wow, because of my effort I found this solution. It's a fantastic experience, and you'll be missing out on all these things. So we actually make them do these things, go through this process, and when the children find some brilliant ideas as a result of their effort, then they realize the value of putting a good effort. So we have to show them, make them put a good effort, and then we have to make them find the solutions, get the reward, and then they will enjoy that. They'll get addicted to that. So if I put a good effort, I can be successful. Once we teach them practically, this will be a new addiction which can be more powerful than the pull of the gadgets. So I teach my students not to be addicted to these things and use them in moderation. And when we talk to them very honestly, openly, and when we make it clear, we are trying to help them become a better version of themselves. And our aim is not to deny them their pleasures, but we want them to be a good human being, a successful human being, a happy human being. Then when they realize like we are actually trying to help them, not deny them, they will be convinced. And when they are convinced, a child convinced and inspired, they will stay away from these negative influences, and they will find that strength in themselves to be more dedicated in whatever they are pursuing.
These are all excellent messages for young parents, and especially the part where you mentioned success and failure being two different experiences, like two flavors of ice cream. I mean, that's such a beautiful way to convey to children the spirit of whatever it is you're saying. Every child would relate to that, and I think they can start seeing it, seeing exactly what you mean to convey. And so there's so much value in everything that you've been saying today. Do you
Who is
have
saying it's like our ancestors have given us this knowledge? Most of us have simply forgotten them. I'm just trying to remember at least. That's it. Nothing.
That's true. That's true. But do you have any, message for parents about how they can support the pursuit for excellence in a child, no matter what the field?
Yeah, so I think the first thing is the parents should be concerned is like when a child wants to do an activity, let's say they want to become a great chess player or they want to learn chess. The first thing is like, is it an healthy activity or not? Is it good for my child or not in the long run if they pursue this activity? So chess is definitely not a harmful activity. It is a very good activity. And once they are convinced it's a good activity for my child, then there are two approaches. Usually like in the West, what they do, they on Monday they learn swimming, on Tuesday karate, on Thursday golf, fourth chess, something like this. So they learn variety of activities, and they believe like by exposing the children to a variety of activities, they will learn good. Instead of from one activity, they'll learn good things from 10 different activities. But usually what happens is like the child's heart will not be interested in all the 10 activities. They will like only one or two activities, and all the other activities which they are being taught, they'll not learn much, they will not gain much by attending those sessions. So a child will learn a lot of good values and develop skills only when they are kind of dedicated and devoted in that activity. Their whole heart and head should be in that activity. So when we spread them too much, they are not gaining from any of this, or they gain very less from all of this. So in my opinion, it's good to focus one or two activities like chess and studies, something like this. And whenever they get bored with chess, when chess becomes too much, they will go to studies. When studies become too much, they will go to chess. So they are moving between two healthy activities rather than 10 different activities. And yeah, so when we as parents try to encourage our children to pursue an activity, we have to teach them that to be good at something, you have to be very devoted, dedicated. You have to put a lot of time, effort, and energy into that activity, and you have to be a very good student. And this is extremely important. So I tell all my students, including Prag, like even though he is like now world number 20, and he's trying to become world number 1 in the next few years. So for him, I tell him like, till you become a world champion, at least till you become a world champion, you should remain a student. You should always feel like what I know is less, and there are so many good things out there that I still have to learn and master. So my priority should not be on resting on the laurels that I have already achieved. And you don't drive a car looking at the rear view mirror, right? So what is on the rear view mirror is already past. So you have to look
Yeah.
ahead and drive the car. So it's very important to focus on the present and not rest on the laurels of the past. If you have achieved great things, it doesn't matter much in the long run. You still have to learn. So for to learn, you have to put your focus should be on learning. So you should never think like I know a lot. So be humble, uh, keep learning, be a good student, be curious, be interested in different perceptions of looking at things, and be open-minded to absorb a lot of information. So be a good student, and this is a message that should keep coming from the parents and the teachers to the children. And better not to impose our expectations. Like every parent wants their child to be successful, and in their mind the definition of success is winning all the time, not losing at all. So then this creates a lot of problem on the child. So the parents also should learn how to react, how to handle their children's successes and failures. Not only the children have to learn this, but so does the parents. So we should not judge them every time they fail. We should not judge them harshly or negatively. We have to teach them, okay, this is an experience you have to go through, and you cannot break down every time things go in the way which we don't want them to go. You can still learn some good things. Ask yourself, like, did you put a good effort? Instead of asking children, did you win or lose after a game, you can ask them, did you put a good effort in today's game? Did you concentrate well? Did you enjoy playing this sport? So then they learn, okay, this is more important than just the outcome. So it's important the role played by the parents. It's not just providing for them all the facilities and then expecting them to win. I think this approach will be counterproductive.
Okay, Rameshji, I find it interesting that you have called your school the Chess Gurukul. Was there any thought behind naming it a Chess Gurukul?
Yeah, I think like when so basically like I was a player, reasonably successful as a player, and I was working at Indian Oil Corporation as deputy manager back in 2008. And at that point, I felt in the few years leading up to that, I was feeling my heart was more in teaching than being a player or working in a company. So I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to share things because I felt I can be more helpful in that way, and that will also make me personally happy. So I told my wife, like, I want to quit my job and also quit my playing career and become a full-time coach. And she was initially shocked, but she was like wholeheartedly backing me up. And she said, like, don't worry about how much money we make. Like, whatever we get, we will lead the family within that, and we will just reduce our needs. And we will. So don't worry on this aspect. Just focus and put everything on being a good teacher to your students. So I worked a lot in trying to be a good trainer. And when we started this academy, I felt it should not just be someone to make money. I'm not starting this chess school to make money, but I genuinely want to help children grow into a better human being using chess as a tool. So I'm always inspired and have a lot of respect to the gurus of our past. And even though I'm not comparing myself with them, I don't see myself even half as good as they were. Like, I have so much respect for them. Like, it is my way of paying tribute to what they have done in the past. So that's my way of showing gratitude and respect. So that's why, I mean, this felt like the name I should keep. So it is a most of the coaches, they name the academy in their own name. Like, if my name is X, it will be X Chess Academy. If I am Y, it's Y Chess Academy. But I felt it is more about chess and the learning. So I'm just a tool in the catalyst in the process. That's why we named it a Chess Gurukul. It felt appropriate in my view. I don't know how to explain beyond this.
No, I don't think it requires further explanation. You've just rooted it to your tradition and culture, and you're paying your obeisance at the feet of those who have done it before, So, yeah, I think Chess Gurukul sounds really good. So, I think, I just wanted to ask you, as a teacher, I'm sure you face a lot of challenges also. So, what do you find the hardest to teach? Would it be technique? Would it be concentration? Or would it be temperament or attitude or managing emotions? What sort of is the biggest challenge for you as a teacher?
No, I think there are two aspects. One is as a teacher, like have to teach the subject. Like if I'm a chess coach, I have to teach them chess, the technicalities. This is
Yeah,
a given. I think this is
yeah.
the easier part. What is more important is like unless the student is willing to receive that knowledge, unless the child wants to learn what we are want to teach. We cannot presume like because I'm a good coach, I'm a renowned coach, whatever I teach, my student will learn or want to learn and will put the effort to learn. I cannot presume that. So what is more important for me and more challenging, I wouldn't say difficult, because difficult in my view, it does not exist. So it is like so usually like I tell my students, like when we see some challenge, so it appears like a difficulty in a distance, and then when it comes closer it looks like a even bigger problem, bigger difficulty, and when it is straight ahead of us it looks like a huge problem, and when it passes us we see, oh, I missed this opportunity.
Hmm.
If I had done well, I could have been. So if I'm going to play a strong player, we see it's a problem because he's stronger, he's going to beat me. But if I
Hmm.
can motivate myself and say, okay, I have to somehow play well today and give my best, and let's see what happens. And if I put a good effort, maybe I would have beaten him. And this I have seen many times happen. And then the children immediately, on because of that experience, they grow stronger. They gain so much confidence that they can beat a stronger one. But yeah, so to teach the, I don't see it as a difficulty teaching anything. I just see it as a different challenge, an interesting challenge. So what is more challenging uh, from this perspective is like, especially with the current generation of children, they are so addicted to this sensational pleasures. Like they want
Hmm.
excitement in everything they do, and they want to be
Hmm.
rewarded every time they
Hmm.
do an activity. So to convince them otherwise is very challenging. But also like I want to make a difference at least in few child's heart, that I mean, you don't have to be
Right.
rewarded every time you do an activity, or you don't have to be like excited in everything you do. You can be moderate in these things as well. So this is very challenging and very interesting also. We are
Hmm.
learning so much in the process by trying to
Yeah.
teach them these things.
Now, teaching like parenting takes a tremendous amount of energy. So, how do you recharge yourself?
For me, like if I feel like I'm very intuitive in my teaching, in the sense like I believe like I can sense when I've made an impact in the child's heart. So if
Hmm.
I feel I've made a positive influence on the child's heart, I mean their face will brighten up. They immediately feel motivated, energized, uh, and they feel like, yes, I can do this. I want to do this. So when I see that enthusiasm, I can feel it somehow. That is kind of a battery recharge in itself.
So, I think to finally wind up, what would be the core message that you would want to give to the young people out there?
No, first thing is like there are many things I want to share. One, from like our nation is an economically growing nation. We are economically growing superpower. So there are more opportunities now. We have a huge population. Even if you sell tea, you can make a lot of money. So
Mm.
don't pursue things to make money. Like if you want to become a doctor, it should not be because as a doctor I can make a lot of money. And you don't have to travel abroad and settle down to make a lot of money, because making money should not be our priority. It should just be a consequence of what we do. So
Yeah.
please focus on contributing to your country. That is very important. We have to be rooted to the ground firmly. Don't get carried away by success. Success is not when others praise us, or success is not when we are rewarded for our activity, but the knowledge that I've given my best and I have learned something good in the process, and I've become a better human being and more stronger in my profession. and this should be the focus. And yeah, it's very important not to do things to create a good impression in others' mind. You have to do it for yourself, for your own betterment and growth. Don't let success get to your head. Be humble and be proud of our ancestors. They have contributed so much, and we think we know more than them, and without really knowing, like, we just know some facts about in some subjects. That is not wisdom or knowledge. So there is so much to learn from the past. Be curious and humble, and be a good student irrespective of wherever you are in the hierarchy in your profession.
We have learned so much today from Rameshji's humility more than anything else.
That is indeed true. That is really indeed true. And I think one can see why Prag is where he is. He has he has imbibed so much from his guru. So I think it's
Yes.
just apt that he's where he is, and it comes out very clearly in this conversation. So Rameshji, I think it has been such a great pleasure and a learning experience for us also. And we're very sure that our listeners will definitely take a lot of things from this conversation, and hopefully will make changes in their lifestyle, because I'm very sure that all of us have to make a lot of changes. We seem to have forgotten very many basic things these days. So I think it's a timely advice to youngsters and to parents that the essentials need to be there. The success will follow. So thank you very much for your time, Rameshji, and Rekha, thank you also very much. And to our listeners, please do subscribe to us. We are on the platform Substack, and our URL is hinduparenting.substack.com. So please do subscribe. We are also available on all social media platforms. Of course, please do use the social media platforms sparingly. We cannot be, after a conversation such as this, we cannot be advocating gross misuse of social media. But please do spare time and listen to us. We think we are doing something that will help all of us. So we go by the handle Hindu Parenting on all social media platforms. We are also available on podcast platforms like Spotify and Google Podcasts and Apple Podcasts. You can search for Hindu Parenting Podcast and we'll show up. So that's it from us. Until the next time, namaste.